Hello, 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 and welcome to the Bridges and Beacons podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Meyerson. And I'm taking a deep breath. That feels like a good thing to do. Get the oxygen flowing through the body and the brain. I am speaking today with someone I've only recently met and immediately needed to know everything she's up to, be in her circle, and just completely whole body resonated with her message, with what she's up to in the world. So let me just introduce you. Dr. Tiffany McBride is a clinical psychotherapist, doctor of Shamanic Psycho-Spiritual Studies, and 8-time best-selling author, blending trauma-informed therapy with intuitive and creative healing. She guides others in reclaiming their power, pleasure, and voice through her transformational brands, Mama Crow's Magic, the Wild Muse Studio, and the Lotus Healing from the Root Up Trauma Recovery Program. Tiffany, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Kelly. I've really enjoyed what we have been able to talk about with each other, and hope that we can like dive deeper today and get to know each other a little bit more.
Yeah. So I just have to correct your bio because probably when you submitted the form to be on the podcast, it was true, but you actually have 9 books and a 10th one coming. And we can only assume that those will also be best-selling books.
Mhm.
And so tell me first. So like me, I see a lot of myself in you, that calling for something, but the conventional, life and wisdom that's like, okay, pick a good career, and feeling the draw to heal, to serve people, and choosing psychotherapy. Like I chose occupational therapy, but then realizing that maybe that's not exactly where you want to be. So tell me about um, how you got into psychotherapy, and then maybe we can follow up with a little bit about your spiritual journey.
Sure, yeah. This is a long story, but
That's
so
okay.
it starts when I'm 13. I was 13 years old that I made this decision that I wanted to be a therapist, and it comes from a place of my own trauma as a child and knowing how it felt to be alone and not have anybody to talk to. And I really literally made that promise in 13 years old that I was like, I don't want anybody ever to feel like the way that I feel. I want to be there for people. And so at eighth grade, I started to know that I was going to go in that direction. And I did a lot of it for myself because I was trying to figure myself out for many years and work through my own trauma, and now I have my own trauma program. I help people heal their trauma after I've healed a lot of my trauma. I think healing trauma is a never ending thing, but you definitely can get to a place where you're living life in a more peaceful way.
Mm.
So it's been my whole life and it's in my business, but I was talking to you a couple of days ago, and I talked to a lot of people that I realize as I get older and as I am healing my trauma, that I realize that I picked this profession from that place of being in trauma,
Mm.
which not necessarily is what we're supposed to do. I know that I'm supposed to be here. Like I'm a great therapist and um, I love what I do. But if we were going to talk about if anything in the world could be my profession, I would definitely be a professional musician. And I've been singing since I was a toddler, and I started playing guitar at 13, and then as years has gone through, I've just kind of self-taught myself in different instruments, and I'm mostly a singer, but yeah, so that would be what I would love to do. And I'm thinking that
Mm-hmm.
I could totally do it on the side of being a therapist as well, because um, I do feel like that um, what I have been through is something that I can use for medicine for other people. So, and music, I think, is the Wild Muse art studio is part of the creativity, music, dancing, all that stuff, art to bring into my business so that I can still have that be a really big part of me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes so much sense. And that I've never maybe looked at it through the lens of being in our traumas and our experiences that inform what we decide to do. And I was like laughing to myself because when I was 15, in high school, a sophomore in high school, like I need to figure out a career. And I'm like, and at that time I thought like, wow, look at you. Like you are so on top of your game. Your friends are like, they're like deep into high school and you're like, guys, we got to think about college. It's coming in 3 years. Like we got to get there. Like I was like, knocking on my guidance counselor's door, like, I need to find a career for myself. And you realize like, oh, maybe that wasn't coming from like a very true healthy place, but perhaps from feeling some sort of insecurity, pain, trauma that, made me believe that I needed to take care of myself. And it just like the aha for me, like, oh, this is where like that like really started to come into play for me. And for me, I think the theme is like hyper independence and
Sure.
feeling like I need to be dependable. I need to support myself, have all of the foundation, and not being able to feel like I could trust other people for that. That's like a big thank you for that. you
Yeah.
know? But yeah. So I totally get that. And I also love the piece of you really loving to use your voice and creativity because I think I felt that too. Like my favorite things to do, and like I went to school for occupational therapy, but every single extra class I had, I took theater classes. I took poetry. I'm also always loved like being on the stage, using my voice, singing in choir. Like all of that has always felt so true to me. And I think I never gave myself permission. Like, one, like, you're probably not good enough. And two, like, you can't do that. How would you support yourself?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a
Right?
big one. That's a big one.
So
Yeah.
I totally applaud you for being able to like hang in there and like keep that as part of your life.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Well, and as kids, we don't really even know who we are. And I think that we're, we're kind of pushed into a really big decision at a very young age. And I know that mine came from survival for
Mm.
sure, right? And I think as children, you don't really get to know yourself until you get into your 20s and your 30s and you already went through college. And
Mm.
so it's interesting when you get older. I mean, I'm 42 now and it's like, "Oh, is this what I really wanted to do?"
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
that's very normal for midlife, right? It's like,
Yeah.
"Wait, is this my life? Did I choose this for myself?" Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited that I can actually bring, music into what I do and help other people to use their voice, and that definitely makes me happy too.
Yeah. And I think that creativity piece is it's so therapeutic without necessarily having to be specific about what is it therapizing, right? What are we producing therapy for? Um, and I think we've also been taught like if if you're not really good at something, then you should go find something you're better at. When we stop thinking about like, well, maybe I just really enjoy this. Like I'm not a particularly good artist in like the
Mhm.
sense of like, you're not like, nobody's going to buy my art, right? But there is something so therapeutic and relaxing for my brain to just be like doodling and drawing. And you throw in like listening to some music that matches my mood in the moment. And suddenly I'm like, oh, this feels like really good. Like it puts me into a state of joy. And I think if we've been conditioned to focus on working and, like you said, that survival, like I've got to take care of myself, and we stop going into joy, or choosing creativity to sort of move through some of it in a non thinking way,
Yeah,
you feel like something's missing.
definitely. I mean, the old shamans used to say, when was the last time you danced? When was the last time you sang when someone came to them saying that they were depressed?
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. And I think a lot of people do not start art, dancing, music because they are like, oh, I'm not good enough. Well, you can't be good enough yet until you just like you get practice in there and you keep doing it. And
Right.
I didn't know I was an artist until like later in my 30s, and then now I'm a book designer for published authors. Like, you don't know until you try. And when you do try, you might be really surprised. I'm not a dancer. I'm not one that to be like professionally dancing, but I love dancing. And it is my way of getting out of my head and getting into my body and releasing energy and things that are stuck in my body. And it does. It gets me back online. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember who I am.
Mm.
And it is. It's like singing or dancing or art. You are tapping into a different part of the brain. And it's so good for you. It's so good. It's so healing. And being in our joy is everything. If we want to heal trauma, we want to have more capacity for joy. And so that's what I help people with is bringing in more capacity in their body so that they can start holding more joy than the trauma.
Mm. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And I think that is such an amazing thing that you said, that, you're a book designer, but like you didn't start out there. You just found yourself there. And I think there is something to like the shift that happens in your 40s. And I think part of it is you're like, I just can't, like, I don't have the energy to care anymore. Like, so, like, a lot of the self judgment falls away. And then you
Yes.
can like hold space for people to not resonate with you. And like, it's not even about like they don't like me or they're not into what I'm in. They just don't resonate with me. And that's really cool. Just you wait and watch, because I'm 49. I'll be 50 this year. And like, it's funny you were talking about dancing, because I went out dancing last night for the first time in a very long time, and like I danced my butt off. I'm gonna pay for that, my quads, because I'm not like I'm like full in it. The music that I was listening to, was literally anywhere from the 60s to modern music. And I was like, wow, it like always amazes me like how many songs and song lyrics I have in my head, and how good it feels to like embody the music that way. And you really can't be too in your head. And I feel like I used to be like, oh, who's like watching me and judging me? And now I'm like, yeah, watch me, judge me. That's okay. You get to do that because you probably haven't given yourself permission to get up and move like nobody's watching. And I'm like, you could
Yes.
watch or not watch. You can join me or not.
Yeah.
I'm a manifesting generator, so I have like crazy amounts of energy. So I was outlasting
Yes.
the people with me. They're like, we got to sit down a little bit. I'm like, that's cool. That's fine. I'm good. I'm good.
I gotta keep
Um,
going.
yeah. So I love that so much. I I went to check out your website. I was saying earlier. First of all, it is visually stunning. And I
Thank
was
you.
like, just your choice of design and colors, and like I can just feel the intentionality behind it. And it's just like so, it's pretty and fun just to be there looking at it and reading all of the stuff that you have going on. I love your multi-passionate nature, so you're not locking yourself into one thing, but it all sort of melds together. So you definitely have some more spiritually based things and then some more practical, creative type things. So tell me about your spiritual journey. When did you really start to feel like this is also a calling? You've gone into shamanic studies on like a very high level. Like not just
Yeah.
saying I'm a spiritual person, but like really devoting to it. So tell me about that.
Yeah. I would say that I've been a spiritual seeker since I was a kid. And I think we all start here. I started in the Christian, religion, and I actually went to seminary for school, for a bachelor's and my master's, and I was a worship pastor for a while. So I did
Wow.
lead worship, and sang and stuff. Oh, I think maybe when I was 25, 26, I remember the day I was in church one day and I was just like listening to, the pastor, and I'm just like, is there more than this? Like, this can't possibly be all that there is. Like, I'm bored. Like, I'm feeling so unfulfilled. There has to be more. And I went and and I left. I left the church. I left being a worship pastor. I divorced my pastor husband. And
Wow.
I went on my own, like searching for my soul, and it's been a journey. And I would say probably 2014 well, 2011 is when I had my first Reiki session. I Somebody had been telling me about it for probably a year, and I was just like, okay, it sounds interesting, but I don't know anything about it, right? And I went and I had my first Reiki session, and that really opened me up. That was like the spiritual awakening that I had. And so then I went deeper into intuitive studies and opened up my gifts that I used to have as a child, which is I'm a psychic medium, so I can sense spirits and I just know things. Yeah. I sense things, know things, hear things, all that good stuff. And so I started to meditate then. And I write this in the Shaman Heart book 3. I talk about my whole journey of my spirituality journey, and it's really good. It's about following the breadcrumbs. And so I
Mm.
started to really get in touch with my spirit guides, and I started getting in touch with my own, past loved ones. And um I just started to trust my intuition, and so it led me down this road, this red road. And I've been with the native tribes and done work with them. I've been to Peru, I've been to Egypt, I've been to Ireland, I've been to Mexico, Arizona, just to start gathering the pieces that I was looking for. And and it's just been building over time, right? And I think it's a process because at first I didn't trust myself. I thought it was crazy. You're
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
do I really know this stuff? Or
Mm-hmm.
is that dream really true? And then over time, I think you learn, oh, I was right. Oh, I didn't follow my intuition and I have this like consequence, right? Like we learn over time of how to start listening to ourselves. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what it really started to really get to is I'm not listening to the gurus. I'm not listening to my teachers. I'm listening to them. They've taught me really well, but like it had to get to a point where I was like, I have to start listening to myself and doing what I feel is good for me. And I think that is this is the result of the book that's coming out on Tuesday, which is The Alchemy of Intuition, Embodied Practices to Access Your Inner Voice. And
Hmm.
it is about healing trauma and healing your anxiety, or at least knowing the difference between anxiety and intuition, and how doubt gets in the way of our intuition and all that stuff. And so it's been a probably 11-12 year journey to get here. But wow, when you start to listen to yourself and you really follow your arrow, I mean, things open up to you that you didn't even know that could happen, like ever, like in your imagination. And it's so cool. It's so cool.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of like just the very, very brief story of my life of spirituality. But yeah, it's in Shaman Heart 3. And there's a chapter in there about my whole journey of finding myself and finding the shaman within. And
I
so
love it.
yeah, just gone through a lot of education and a lot of experiences with different shamanic medicine tribes over the years to just understand and
Mm.
learn.
Wow. That's so phenomenal. Yeah, like I'm sure for you, when you start to talk, you're like, whoa, like I've done a lot of stuff. Like I've been a lot of places with this. And, you think about like when you start out and like you said, when you were 13 and you're like following this like calling, and probably could have never expected that this is where you would find yourself. So that's phenomenal. Um, I need to geek out a little bit with you on the idea of intuition. And, we
Yeah.
were talking a little bit the other day about human design.
Hmm.
And in your human design, you're a generator, but your spleen is defined. You have a few gates in there, but that is where like our intuition sits, human design ways. And it's also where we can find our clairs and our fears. So I think,
Interesting.
like, to me, that like learning about that really blew my mind. So I was like, the same place where we're getting our intuition, we're also like feeling a sense of fear. Um,
Mhm.
but at the same time, you have a defined head and ajna, so there's a lot of knowing and knowing for you. And when you look at your journey, like there's the head engaged in knowing, and then there's the
Yeah.
intuition engaged in knowing. So seeing that, it makes so much sense. And geek
Interesting.
out
Yeah.
two moment. Um,
Yeah.
One of your programs is healing from the root up, and
Hmm.
you have definition in your root. And I can feel that in you because I don't, my root is undefined. And people with undefined root feel this like constant ongoing pressure always to be doing something. But people with a defined root have more of a sense of like the rhythm and timing of things and don't necessarily, they have a better sense. So I think those pieces of your chart are really fascinating to me. That you have really a very like grounded, you've got like your root and your sacral and your grounded and your intuition. And then you've got your head and your ajna like also, and then in between it's all open. Your heart is open, your identity center is open, your throat is open, um which is really, it's really kind of beautiful, like such a beautiful design that you have. And I can see how that's played out for you. um I also have an open head and ajna, like different than you.
Yeah.
So having that open head and ajna, you also, the head, you have that pressure. So I've got the pressure and the pressure. So like just being in your presence the definition that you have there is making me feel so much less pressure. So you're
Oh,
probably
that's
so
nice.
good for people, like therapeutically, because energetically you're grounded in not feeling pressure, you know?
Yeah, interesting. That's so interesting. I get told this a lot. They're like, you're just a really grounded person. And I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm. You're like, I
And
don't necessarily feel that.
sometimes I know. And also just people just feel like they feel safe with me and kind of pretty much instantly, which is awesome. And so that makes sense to why. I mean, I really like pride myself on that just because I think that's the first step of healing is making people feel safe and grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then they are feeling okay to start opening up and processing it. Well, that's awesome. Thanks for telling me that. I was like, oh, I need to just geek out with you too. I was like, I just need to know
I
all the
just need to
things.
totally. Well, and you know what? With your your identity center, people who have an open identity center are sort of chameleons. Like we can I was kind of
Mhm.
laughing to myself, I was on a retreat virtually yesterday and the day before, and I was sort of just wearing like comfy clothes, and then like did like the quick change to be like Kelly is going out and dancing, and like the way that I looked was like completely different, and that is like correct for me because I don't have a defined identity, so I'm really good at being a chameleon. So it makes me
Mhm.
feel like with you having that open identity center, like you're open to allow other people to be as they are, and to you're probably very subtly shifting the way that you are energetically, and it's probably very subconscious to create that felt safety. And now it's just
Yes.
making me super curious, like the difference between felt safety when you're with someone with fixed versus flexible identity.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's
Anyway,
really
I'm
interesting.
I'm doing my own doctorate in my brain. That's my one three,
Yeah.
because the one is the research foundation,
Yes.
like got to know everything about everything, and then the three is like let me go play with it and experiment and see what works. So yeah, but
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I definitely can. I would say that is very much me. Is I'm very non-judgmental. I I I just accept people where they're at because everybody's different. Everybody has their thing, and everybody has their different stories, and so but I also like get along pretty much with anybody. Like I can kind of go into a group and I do have to be like, okay, where am I at? How do I adjust? And like it's very subconscious, right? But it is it's and I love people and I love connecting with people and I love all over the world. And so um I like that. I like that I have an open heart center.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
so yeah, so you're with that, you what you just said is exactly that. Like you can go into any space and you really you can literally read the room
Mhm.
and match, or when you get really good at it, you have the flexibility to shift so you can kind of influence the shift to happen. And I think definitely with your defined root center, you're probably bringing a lot of grounded energy to people, whether it's one on one or in a group. And it probably, I can imagine you being on stage and performing, and people just like really, like, as soon as you open up your throat and you let all of that out and you're singing and you're playing music, that it probably is so soothing for people. Like, it really puts them in such a good state, because that root is that pulse that we all feel that connects us to being human and alive. It's why we love to hear music with bass and like dance to it and feel that rhythm and beat. It makes us feel alive and safe and connected to the planet.
Yeah, for sure. This is awesome. I mean, knowing what you're telling me makes me want to do it more. You know, because that is exactly what. people have told me I sing because I want to sing for people, and it does bring them a lot of peace or comfort, or they just feel heard or understood. And brings them a little bit of like happiness and joy in a moment. So I might do that more often if that is what I'm able to offer as medicine to this world, especially right now. But that's cool. Thank you so much. It's like,
You're
wow, I'm learning
welcome.
so much about myself right now.
This is something I love to be able to do for people.
Mhm.
Um, Also, in talking about intuition, your chapter coming out is about the alchemy of
Yeah.
intuition. And alchemy has been a word that's been like hitting me upside the head lately. On the retreat, somebody was teaching about alchemy and it just completely blew my mind. I don't know how I never really got into that or never crossed my path before, but of course now I'm like, I need to know everything about everything. Which is correct for me. That is kind of
Yeah.
how I roll. But
Yeah.
tell me how this chapter came about. Why did you feel called to write about it?
Yeah. So I'm a lead author of the book, and it's been in the making for like 2 years. I went to Egypt with Laura DeFranco, who is the publisher of Brave Healers Productions. And she was like, "Hey, you're in so many books and you're going on these trips with me. Like, when are you gonna do a book?" And I was like, I don't and so I was like, what about if we do a journey and we go to Ireland? And she was like, yes. And so we've been really working on like, we planned a huge retreat in Ireland just this last fall where we actually went through the alchemy stages. And a lot of the writers that went write about it, write about their experience of alchemy. And so Carl Jung is one of my favorite, I guess I would say therapy philosophers or whatever you would say, like a teacher of psychology. And I feel closer to him because he believes in non-ordinary states of consciousness. And that is where a lot of my work is I work in the non-ordinary states of consciousness to heal trauma. And so his philosophy was like, oh, this makes sense to me. And so alchemy was about, alchemy can be for anything. It's literally just a healing process of becoming the best version of yourself. But before we get there, we have to turn this lead or this dirt or this grossness into lead or to gold. And how we do that is we go through these stages of alchemy. And so a lot of what it went towards intuition is first, it was death. The first stage is death. It's the dark
Hmm.
shadow of the night. And it's about letting go of the things that keep us from hearing our own voice. So it's those voices that we've heard from from society, from programming, from our family members, from you name it, doubt, fear, all of it, all the things that kind of just get in the way of you really hearing yourself. Excuse me. And then after that, we go and death was beautiful. It was just a beautiful process, and it was hard. And it's okay that it's hard because it's just so beautiful to be like, I'm ready to let go of the things that don't serve me anymore. And so we went through that process, and then we went through I'm trying to think, purification. So purification is the second stage. And that was where it's like kind of like a burial. Like when we die, we have this purification of cleaning the body and getting it ready for burial and, washing away what no longer is for us. And also grief, because we have to grieve the things that we're letting go and losing. And so the first few stages were a little hard, they're a little tough, but it gets to a point where then you're starting to have realizations, awakening, illusion, or illumination, where you kind of start noticing as you let go of those fears and those doubts, you can start hearing that little voice. You can start seeing things a little bit differently. Your perception might be changing a little bit. And sometimes it's subconscious because all it is the intention that we need to have, and then allowing our intuition to do its job, which is it does do the alchemy for us. And so, this is like the rising of the sun. This is where we went to La Cruz and we watched the sunrise on the fall equinox. And that was the illumination. It's like we're rising. We're coming into this realization of who we really are on an intuitive level. Who are we, right? And then the final is the ultimate transformation. It is turning that lead into gold and through the fire, right? And if you think about the phoenix and how the phoenix has to turn into ash and then it comes back out again. That's pretty much what transformation is these people have gone through the ashes and death, and now they're coming out of the ashes as a brand new beautiful phoenix. And I have gotten the chance to see this in my authors. I saw them do their death work in Ireland, and now seeing them as the book is coming out on Tuesday, the 20th of January, how people are illuminated, they are living, they have found their purpose, they're growing their businesses, they're in new relationships. Like I've just seen the beauty of the alchemy. And this is just so that we can start listening to ourselves. And so all the book has beautiful chapters of these co-authors' story about their own intuition and their own alchemy and how they came to it, because everybody's different. And it's just a beautiful book. It's a really beautiful book. I put a lot in there about what is alchemy, what is intuition, who is Carl Jung, why is this important? And then I put a prologue in there, which is the whole retreat that we went on. I wanted people to like actually feel like they were there. And people are saying that. They're like, wow, I feel like I was there with you guys. And that's my whole point, because this is for everyone. Yeah, it's just such a beautiful thing. And for me, the alchemy that's happened for me in this year, like I went March to kind of do the path with my tour guide, Becky Wheeler. And I went through my own transformation. And what happened was Mystic Muse, which is the website that you're talking about, she was born. I rebranded, I redid my whole business to bring in the creativity and the mystic and the clinical, because I am all those, right? I have all those gifts, and they're all medicine, and I want to have them to bring me joy also as I'm doing my work. So yeah, it's been a huge transformation. And now I'm full time again. I was part time for a while as I was building this new business. Now I'm full time, and I have programs and things on my calendar for people to come join either via Zoom or, for workshops here locally in Peoria, Illinois. So there's a lot amazing things from the alchemy of intuition that happen, but that's kind of like the gist of it. I know that's a lot, but like that's the alchemy. Mhm.
Wow. Wow. I'm just feeling like how cool it is that through this process, like maybe some of the gold for you is being able to embrace and hold space for all the pieces of who you are and make them make sense together, because it's all part of you. So like, and I feel that so deeply, because I think for a long time I felt like either I could be this or I could be that. I could do this or I could do that. And now I'm kind of like it's both and what else? I can do both this and that, and hold space for even more
Mhm.
possibility, because it's all part of me. And realizing what your true gifts are. And I like to do that through the lens of human design, and really lean into, what are the things I've always gravitated. And something you said earlier about kind of going back to the things that you had as a kid that maybe it wasn't safe or comfortable at that time to embrace, the things that you knew, the freedom that you felt, before all of the conditioning layers and trauma kind of fell on top of it. And that sense of like letting so much of that go and being able to now be in your whole self and feel safe and free. And then like you said, the next layer of that is holding space for other people to do the same thing. So that to me is so gorgeous. And Ireland is amazing. That's one of the places in the world I have been to visit. And ever since I went, and it's been quite a few years since I was there. I think I was there in like 2006. So, but I absolutely felt like there's something so spiritual and magical there. What parts of Ireland did you go to?
Oh, wow. So we were in all over. So we started in Dublin, and then we went to Glendalough Glendalough, and went to see the Mosaic ruins and the upper and lower lake. And I'm like trying to remember. I'm like, wow, it hasn't been that long. But I'm like, wow, what did we do? Because we did so much. We went to like North and Newgrange. We went to the River Boyne. We went to Lecru. We went to Hillatara. Um, we went to the Cliffs of Moher. We
Mm-hmm.
went everywhere in Ireland. And the thing, I love Ireland. Ireland is, I really feel like is like the heart chakra of the world. I think it is. I know that other people feel like there's other heart chakras of the world, but I really believe it is the island of the heart. And when you go there, they really honor the land and they continue to honor their ancestors. And when you go there, you feel it. You can feel the ancient druids. You can feel all of that in the mothers and the feminine energy. It's very feminine. And that's what we experienced there. We experienced extreme healing. And and people were changed. I mean, I was changed, and I think this is a place that I'll always go back um to find myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's
Mm-hmm.
just a place that you can do that. It really, really is. The people there are beautiful, they're kind, um, and they just take care of that land really well, and they keep, preserving these beautiful, ancient, over 5,000-year old, ruins, and they still honor it. And it's just, I think that's what's missing. A lot of places I've been to have just lost that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would say Ireland has not, and it's still there. And if you want to remember who you are, go to Ireland
So
because
true.
she'll wake you up. Yeah, she'll wake you up
Sheesh.
for sure.
Yes, I went. The ruins that we saw were in, I think it was Kilkenny,
Mhm.
um, and that was just I hadn't ever been to a place that was so ancient. And then the grounds of Blarney Castle, I instantly was very aware of like magic and presence. And like the trees felt sentient when I was
Oh yeah.
there. And I've since come to realize that, part of my design is having a connection to nature and trees. And I kind of laugh because I gravitate towards owls and mushrooms and trees, and like they just keep showing up more and more in my life. Or I've like opened my eyes and been like, oh my gosh, it's all always been here, and I'm looking around and that is my calling. But I can remember like just meeting trees there and being like, oh my gosh, like they look alive, like animated, like they're going to pull their roots out of the ground and start walking around. And I was
Yes.
like, it was overwhelming. And
Mhm.
it was hard. Like that's where I felt the overwhelm. And this was well before I had any kind of like I'd really embraced my own spiritual journey and where I was going. So this came from like a place of just a very ancient knowing. And I believe I probably existed in Ireland in a previous life. Like I
Mhm.
definitely when I was in high school, I like suddenly was just really drawn towards Irish singers, like women singing these beautiful
Mhm.
ballads, and and I just like I had to find like I can't Lorena McKenna was like
Mhm.
one. I don't know if you've heard of her, but this is like I'm going back to the 90s now, and like just listening to her sing, like really like I felt it someplace else in my body.
Mhm.
And so like that alone, like that intuition, like this is what I'm supposed to be exposing my soul to in this lifetime. But yeah. And I went alone to Ireland. It was I got divorced in 2006 from my first husband. And I was like I decided that was like my trip to do on my own. I went on a tour. I met people from all over the world, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like I hadn't even experienced that because I had been married and right after college and hadn't really done life on my own. And it was such a positive experience. And just being there and just like, it was like uprooting myself from everything that had been normal for me for so long and seeing the possibilities that existed out there, I think really planted a seed for my journey later on into my 30s. So, yeah, yeah, it's so special.
It is. And there's fairies. We went to a fairy field and they
Ooh.
honor the fairies and the old, the magic. And I think that's what keeps it alive there is believing. And I think that's part of also listening to our inner voice is believing ourselves, believing our intuition, believe that there's magic. There is magic. It is existent. It does exist. And when you go to Ireland, you realize that you're like, oh, magic is real. And it's hard coming back to the US. Like it was really hard because that energy is not here,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. And um, so keeping magic alive is something I'm also trying to cultivate,
Mm.
here and in
Yeah.
my personal life so that we can continue to believe in that.
Yeah. I think that's so important. And I agree with you. And I think those experiences really teach us more where we are in our true nature and how much we've been, layered or bogged down with, convention and conditioning and what we should be. And yeah, I think shedding all of that. I mean, we've just left or we're leaving the year of the snake. And that feels tremendous. And I think I mean, that's like the opportunity, like you said, for that alchemy, like what am I letting go? And there is some grief there. There are things that have become so normalized for us, and leaving the normal is always going to feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
the work is worth it.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. I mean, because if you kind of stay stuck, you don't get to live life. I mean, you can be comfortable and that's okay, but there's so much to life, like, and there's so many things that you can, I don't think I had any idea what I was going to get myself into. Like I'm a best-selling author and I've been able to do book designs and I've traveled internationally and I get to have my own business. Like I didn't think that was going to all happen, right? Like it just kind of happened in my life and that was just because I did step out of my comfort zone. And I said, okay, let's do it. And it's scary. It is scary, and that's what's, people will want to stay in their comfort zones, and if
Mm-hmm.
they do, they don't usually grow, and they won't get to experience all this juiciness of life. So that's why the book is really important, is because it's like, are you listening to yourself? Like, are you living your life? Are you really doing what you want to do in this life? And a lot of people think that they can't, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
here to tell you you can. And
Mm-hmm.
it is about going through the alchemy. You can't just start right away, right? You're not going to be just transformed. You have to go through that dark night of the soul first, and clear up whatever you need to, like that snake shedding, right? Letting go whatever is holding you heavy and holding you into the ground and feeling stuck. That's what's got to die. It's got to die, and let go of that so that you can see what life has for you. Yeah.
Mm. I love that so much. And I think this is such a perfectly timed conversation. We're recording on the new moon,
Mhm.
and we haven't yet. If you subscribe to more of the lunar calendar versus the Gregorian calendar, the new year hasn't quite happened yet. We've got another month until that happens. So I have just been sinking into the beauty of winter. And
Mhm.
I always felt like I was like trying to push myself from pure will to jump into January with like crazy mad energy and feel like I have to like know what I'm doing and know where I'm going. But this year is so different. And I'm like, no, this season gets to be about like coziness and darkness, and in that darkness the alchemy that can happen, the like listening, our intuition is really turned on because there's a lot less happening outside. It's quiet, it's darker. I envision like when it snows and the silence of snowfall. And like when it's that silent, then you can go in and listen and you can allow that to settle in your body. And then you're available to hear what your body needs to tell you, where that wisdom lies. And it doesn't matter if you subscribe to human design, whether you have a defined spleen or not, you still have access to intuition, and everybody has access to their own unique magic. We're all born with that. It's just whether it has been safe for us to claim it, or our environments have allowed that to happen. And then have you been able to come out of that? And I think it's so important that people understand that yes, it's not gonna be a fun, enjoyable process the whole way through, you
Yeah.
know? And you
Yeah.
you you may have to leave some of the things behind that have come to feel, safe, but safety gets to have a different lens. Does that is
Mm.
that does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and you know, during this time you're planting seeds with the winter, right? And um, you know, it's hard. It is hard. It's not easy to go through that death. And that's why people don't want to, because it's gonna be hard. But for someone that has gone through many, many deaths and transformations in this lifetime, what I have noticed is, yes, I have loved and I have lost a lot. And they have been my greatest teachers. And when I have let go of things and I have grieved it, because that's the purification part, is part of that grief, and crying and letting it shed of like, this is not fair, this sucks, but I know what's best for me. Over time, you're going to realize that you're going to find much better. It's like, I'm letting go of this so new things can come in. And that's the whole point of it, right? We have to let these things go so that we can go into this newness, this new me, this new way of accessing my own intuition or voice. And I'll tell you, I was like, after the Ireland trip this fall, things changed for me tremendously. And if you read my chapter, I'm the first chapter in there, and it's called Rising from the Dead.
Mm,
And it's a very very awesome chapter, and it's about generational trauma. It's about how we even hold on to our mothers or grandmothers' stuff and how that needs to even be let go. And sometimes, we've done maybe a lot of work in this lifetime, but we also have a lot of work to do in our generational energy too. And because we hold curses, or and I call it curses in there, and I talk about what that meant in the book, but we hold on to these patterns that we're like, why am I like this? I keep having this happen to me in my life. And I had the chance to heal a very old pattern that wasn't just mine. And things have changed dramatically. Um, it was a lot about unrequited love, and that's what my experience was all my life. And when I came back, and after I had that healing moment, and you can read that in my chapter, things started to be reciprocal. It started to
mm,
be synergetic now. It was like back and
mm,
forth. And then, like the people I met and the business I started doing and all this stuff was like, oh, this is so much better than I thought or ever even could have imagined. Thank you. And now I'm so thankful for the death. And I'm so thankful for that grief and those teachers because I'm just like, okay, I actually have more freedom now. And also, life is meeting me there.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
it's powerful stuff.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. And I think it's important for the listener to hear too, because I think we feel sometimes like everything that's happening to us, like either we have zero control or like we've created it. And I don't I don't believe that that's true. I think, like you said, there could be so many different layers. There could be these habits and these voices in our head and patterns, like you said, that we just keep repeating and repeating and finding ourselves in the same situation. And it could very well be generational. I've found something that helps me is that, you know, I it gets to stop with me. I get to choose to embody that healing. And I don't know if you feel the same way I do, but time, there is linear time, but there's also time that overlaps. So, like when I'm healing things that are generational traumas, I may be going back generation, up to seven, maybe bigger. I don't know. But I'm literally healing that so that that pain isn't there anymore, and it's healing for other people, and the potential to do that feels really good and totally worth it. And I think so much of it is in different generations. The awareness wasn't there, or the safety to go into awareness was not there. And so even though there's a lot going on out in the world, I think there is a network of so much positivity and good people like yourself and those that we're both connected to, who are doing the work, who do hold a safe space, who do look at the world in a different way. And that offers so much opportunity to heal with this sense of like this, the timing couldn't be better to take on what's been hanging around and to transmute
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I come to more and more a realization of like Oh my gosh, this book is coming at a very epic time, and that was not planned, right? And like, because not just the snake year is ending, but we're going into the horse year, the fire horse, and which is the snake is about letting go of the gurus and the patterns and all the things that keep you stuck so that you can move forward. And so that comes at that time, and then just what's going on in our world. Um, it's about listening to yourself and not the systems that have been in place. It
Mm,
is a time for people to be like, I need to wake up.
mm-hmm,
I have to wake up. And in order to do that, you have to go through the alchemy,
mm-hmm,
right? So that you can wake up. And what I mean by waking up is what's your truth? Who are you living for? What are you living for? What do you want to do? Do you want to live in shame and fear, or do you want to try to find joy,
mm-hmm,
or freedom? And I think that's what I'm offering people is I want people to not be afraid. And I talk about that in the introduction of like, I want you to know that you have sovereignty and that you are in control of your life, even when it feels like it's not. We always have the choice to respond in a certain way, no matter where we're at, no matter where we're at. And that could be with responding with love. And when when I talk about the nervous system in that book too, about like what's the difference with fear and intuition, because people can feel like fear is intuition when it's really not. And that can lead you into places that you don't want to go. And so I talk about that difference. And I also talk about how it's really important to start regulating your nervous system. And a lot of the exercises in the book is how to regulate your nervous system so that you can listen and hear yourself. So, yeah, and like I said, it's going to become down to I have to choose to wake up. I have to choose it, or I'm not going to wake up, and life might not be so good. But um we're very powerful beings. We have a lot of wisdom within ourselves and our body. And I think that people don't know that they're just such powerful, energetic beings that have so much potential. So I just want to keep telling people that and helping people find their potential. That's my purpose is to like, let's let's unlayer all this shit and find out who you are underneath it
mm,
and live in that way of freedom without having all that baggage.
mm. I love this so much because I feel like you're totally right. This book is coming at the just right time for what's happening on the planet, and as we move into um, Aquarius, the dawning of Aquarius is coming, which I feel like seemed like such a far way away. you know, I mean, my parents really kind of grew up in the 60s and like, 70s, and so we're very free spirited. I don't know if they would call themselves hippies or not, because if you lived through that time, um, it meant different things. But I think that they were here for like the peace, the humanity, the music, and
Yeah.
so I feel a lot of that in my soul, like that has really influenced how I feel. Um, it's led to like my stance on equity
Mhm.
and really honoring all people, no matter what categories they may fall into. But I agree with you. Everyone has this beauty and magical quality inside them. It's just getting to the point where you can access it and let it out. And I think it's so important what you said about intuition and fear. Um, do you have any helpful hints for people if they're sitting in silence and they're hearing something inside? Like, how do we feel the difference between
Yeah.
fear versus intuition?
Yeah, so fear usually comes very loud and it disrupts the body. So you're going to feel jittery, uncomfortable, tense. It's going to come from a place of urgency, and not really able to think through things. Because our prefrontal cortex, which is our logic part of the brain, is shut down when we're in fear. And so we're coming from an instinctual place of survival. It's automatic. It's what we do. And so knowing that difference of like, what is it like when I'm in survival? Am I in fight, flight? Am I in fawn? Am I shut down? And it's more, you can definitely feel it in your body. It's uncomfortable and it's urgent and it's fast. That's fear. Intuition is slow, that quiet voice, usually the first voice that you hear before all that doubt and fear start coming in and be like, "Blah, blah, blah," right? It is the voice that gives you peace. When you're like looking at an answer and you're like, wow, this really gives me peace, even though it might be scary to do it. Like, let's say we're struggling with someone that's really just not good for us and toxic, and we're going in and we're going, oh, if I could just like put a boundary down and say I don't want to be in this anymore, that feels really good. That's your truth, right? But then the fear comes in of, what are we going to do? Is this going to be okay? And then that's when we kind of start overriding with fear. So that's just a little example of just knowing, but I do talk a lot more about it in the book, and I think people give a really good example in their book and their chapters of how to listen to your intuition and what then know the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I know when I started to have better access to my intuition, it started speaking to me, and it'll be, something, for example, like I'm driving and I just get a little voice that's like, watch the road, there might be a deer. And like I just get like a little image of a deer, and so I'll slow down and then a deer will cross my path. Or like, be
Mhm.
aware, there might be a policeman, and if you're going too fast, and then I'll see a
Mhm.
policeman. So it's like, it's not a, oh my gosh, look out. It's more just to let you know, like a very, like a little tiny tap of information, and super super super
Yes.
quiet. So like you
Yes.
said, if your nervous system is always in fight or flight, you're not necessarily going to be able to hear it or feel it. So I think I agree with you that nervous system work is so so crucial. And I say to people, and maybe you have a good practice to add, but like just start with sitting in stillness. Like, it doesn't even have to be meditation, and just
Mhm.
being aware of breathing and breathing, and just like, what can you feel in your body? And it doesn't have to mean anything. You don't have to change anything. Just sitting in stillness and awareness of your body. Is my heart
Mhm.
racing? Is my head racing? Am I feeling pressure to do something? And sometimes it's just, we're so used to being in that state that it feels normal. And for some people, it may feel unsafe to be still, and to let yourself come down off of all that
Yes.
neurochemistry that keeps you, we're adrenaline, dopamine, cortisol junkies, some of us, right?
Absolutely.
Speaking for
Yep.
myself in the past. But yeah, anything you'd add to that?
Um, yes, I was like listening intently, but I did have some things I was going to say, but I forgot. That's what happens. I'm like, I was really listening intently. I know that because I forget what I say. But um, oh, I was gonna say this also. I was gonna add to this, like eventually as you start listening to your inner voice, it starts to show you on the outside world. And so what I mean by that, and it's a practice. It's a practice. When you start listening to your voice, and because we're great manifestors. We can find, if we're gonna find bad, we can find bad, and if we find good, we can find good. Like if we want to do that. It's the way that we see things, right? And so I noticed for me, um, when I get those intuitive hits, I will ask for confirmation from my team. And a lot of times it'll be like a license plate, it'll be a sign, it'll be a random person that just shows up, you know. Um, and that I think is when we start to actually start trusting ourselves because you're just like,
Mm.
whoa, I couldn't make that up. A lot of times for me on the road, it's easy. It's like E and Z is the license plates, and I'll see that
Mm.
like a couple times, and I'm like, okay, I'm being told to take it easy as I'm driving. So eventually, as we do listen to our intuition and really start trusting that, it will start to show us in the outside world that we can actually really trust it. What you were saying of like, oh, I heard that voice, I listened to it, and then it actually happened. And I think that's how I started to really start trusting my intuition. So it is a process, it's a process. It is not an easy thing. It is something that you definitely have to go through that alchemy stages of to get to that point of okay, I'm unlayering, and here is this voice I can hear, and then we have to keep unlayering and keep unlayering and keep unlayering. So the alchemy is not just one time, it's many times.
Spoiler alert. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that so much. And I think, just to geek out a little bit on the body wisdom and your nervous system, your reticular activating system, which is, back here in your brain stem, it's the thing that notices the patterns and like what I have to know. So you can, when you're tuning into your intuition, say, like I'm like feathers. When I see feathers, when I see hearts, where I see balloons, it's like when you're like, you know what? I think I really want like for a while I was like, I want to get like a red orange, like a rorange, car. And then all of a sudden, everywhere you go, you see red orange cars. It's like that, but it's that
Yes.
intentionality. And our nervous system wants to be put to work for us. It knows how to go to work for us. We just need to not go into that autopilot of our, primitive reptilian brain that's seeking safety, and allow it to be like more so used to notice the things that we want or those
Yeah.
synchronicities, like you're
Well,
saying.
it's so curiosity.
Mm, mm.
So it's a way of, not being fearful, but being curious, not judging, but being curious, right? And when we kind of come from that place of, I'm curious, even how I die in this death process, I'm so curious about it. Like, what is that going to look like? And I think when we can look in a place of curiosity, I think you're going to find some really cool things. Um,
Mm.
yeah. Yeah, I think that is the key is like being curious. I'm curious. I'm curious if I ask for this confirmation from myself, from whatever is in my reality, um, it will happen, right? And then I'm like, oh, I'm curious, and then it happens, and then you're like, oh, I want to be more curious. Oh, I want to go more into this because it just becomes more and more fun. As you can be feeling safe and trust your intuition, it can be a lot of fun.
Mm. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yes to all of that. I love that. And I think the really cool thing is there's really no limit. Like it's whatever you can start to hold capacity for.
Yeah.
Um like I just put out into the universe and I was like, I really want to teach on a retreat. I didn't have like any there was nothing in my current reality that was like people are banging down my door like please come and teach, but I like very specifically I was like I want to geek out on human design on a retreat. and and what's interesting is unlike other times in my life where I was like let me research it, let me like find what's going on, I literally was like I put the desire into the universe and then I moved on and I didn't even give it a second thought. And I was really like, let me just get into my authentic self. That was kind of a big theme for me for 2025. And I went on a podcast, and I fully embraced who I was, and I didn't screen myself, and I was who I was. And my friend Lori Smith, who did the podcast, then like jumped into my messages on LinkedIn, and she was like, I have this idea for this retreat in January. By the way, she lives in California. I knew like nothing except she said retreat, teach human design. And I just absolutely said yes without knowing it. I didn't know if it was happening in California. And this was in December. She told me, and it was going to be in January, and I would be, it was a Thursday and a Friday. And I was like, I'm just going to say yes. And then I'll figure out the rest later. Like, I'll just trust that it'll happen. So for me, that's like a very recent situation. And I let go of the need to figure out the how and the details, which I have flexed into very easily in my life, and just put it out there. I was like, maybe it'll happen sometime in 2026. Like, maybe that's something that's a possibility for me. And then lo and behold, it was like, how about December? How about you put that out in the universe, and then in December, like, here you go. Yes, you can have it. You can do this.
It's so true. It works. Yeah, I just asked for like, I literally wrote down, hey, can I get 5 more clients? I did in a week. I had 5 new clients. So, and that and that is not automatic. Like that takes a lot of practice too, and getting really clear in your intuition. And so I wonder if I'll have some series with the alchemy of intuition, because I think the first book is very just more about how do we know what the difference is, and then going further into what else can we find out about intuition and alchemy. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. I could literally geek out with you all day on this,
Mm.
but I would love to shift now for you to share. Obviously the book is coming out. We'll make sure that's in the show notes so people can get a copy, because I mean I'm so stoked to get to read this. But how else can people connect with you, Tiffany?
Yeah, so I have my website, and it's www.themysticmuse.org. You go on there, you will see all the things that I'm doing, from events to workshops to classes to a mystery school I'm going to start in the summer on how to start listening to your intuition and knowing your gifts, and how to maybe run your own business as a energetic intuitive practitioner. So there's tons of stuff on there. I do moon circles in person, and I have online classes and stuff, so people that are at a distance, they can still join me. But yeah, hop on in there, look around, see what you like. There's lots of things. There's the Mama Crow's magic, which is very like intuitive, magical, more energy work. And then I have my Wild Muse healing arts studio, which is going to be, dance, ecstatic dance and music and creative business coaching and all that stuff. And then the Lotus Healing from the Root Up is my trauma program. And so, and I take clients for that, and I do also do some workshops around that. So lots of offerings. Go in there and just check it out. I also have a soul inquiry. So if you're like, I don't know what to do, but I want to work with Tiffany, there's a soul inquiry, and there's a whole bunch of questions to just kind of figure out what you're looking for. And then I will get back to you and we'll talk about it. And so, yeah, that's how they can find me.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for talking with me today. I have so enjoyed learning more about your journey so far and where you're going. And like with everything you've got aligned, I can only imagine what is coming up for you this year. So I hope that you'll come back and maybe
I love
take
that.
us to the next level. Maybe that'll be right in alignment with another anthology, or just a piece of the puzzle for people when they go and they practice intuition and they uptake some of these really great tools that you'll have in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to say to the listener?
Well, I want to say thank you so much for having me, and I would love to come back. And just for the listener, well, thanks for listening to us and actually like spending time with us and getting to know, me. And I want people to know that they are powerful and that they are magical, and that if you can just give yourself that opportunity to do the healing work, life can get better, and you can really definitely start to live from your own truth, your own true North Star. And that's what I want for people. I want people to know that they have freedom, even when it looks like they don't. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
That is so received and beautiful. I love that so much, and I think just if somebody can make like a tiny shift into just believing in the possibility that they are free and magic and powerful, that potential exists for them, I
Mhm.
think would be an amazing shift for people. So I thank you on behalf of all of those who will be changed by your words and your books and your practices. Thank you for doing this work, bravely going first. And listener, thank you for hanging out with us until the end of the conversation. This has been a beautiful one and so perfectly timed. So if you found what Tiffany had to say really resonated with you, I do encourage you to check out her website. This is a book you're going to want. When it launches, take advantage of, picking it up. And I'm going to encourage you to do two things. One, when you check out the book, please, please, please go do a review of the book, because it gets it in front of more people. And do the same for this podcast episode. Share it with a friend. Review, subscribe. This work is incredibly potent and important right now. And the more that we share with people and the more that we honor it, the more people that we get to inspire with this work, and we really will change the world. That is my deep, deep belief. We're changing the world one listener at a time, one practice at a time. Nothing is unimportant. So even if it's just you saying, I think there's a possibility I could be listening to my intuition more, that's huge and it's meaningful and powerful. So thank you, listener. Thank you, Tiffany. And we'll see you next time on the podcast. Bye for now.